I'd like you to look at this paper. I'd like to know if the county has passed the resolution accepting tax exempt for solar. You honor those? So anybody that puts solar on their house will be taxed, you're telling me?
Next on what?
On the solar system.
I have a solar system. What do you have?
Are you assessed for that?
With the solar system?
Yes.
That's part of the assessors, that's part of the assessor when he assesses the building.
No, that has to be assessed separately. It has to be listed as it's be like the garage.
Where does it say that in the town law?
This is something we're gonna have to run by Alan.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I haven't seen this.
I think, and I'm not sure, I spoke with the assessor's assistant in Potsdam today, and she refers me to Bruce Green, had a real property in Canton,
Okay.
and he wasn't sure, but he was gonna research it, he hasn't got back to me yet, that you would do accept those.
Okay, that's.
What I'm being told is anybody is supposed to assess them, then you fill out the exemption, and they're exempt, then it makes them exempt from your property taxes.
Maybe something I'm gonna have to check with Alan on.
Okay, man, but it's also saying when you open that door up, you also open it up for wind. So why is anybody complaining about a pilot agreement if you're already exempting solar? I guess that's my point there.
Oh, look who's coming in the door.
Good, I'd like to, maybe you can answer that for me.
The wind project you're speaking of, is that a different level, it's a commercial level?
No, that applies to all. And that opens the door for one. If you do not accept the pilot agreement, you cannot accept.
Do we have that for-
I don't believe that's true. I think it's.
I can't believe you can have a 80 megawatt solar system.
Well,
not,
for instance, Clarkson College up there, their
That's
solar,
commercial.
That's commercial.
that is exempt.
Wait. Let Alan,
I don't.
we've never, would you explain?
How are you assessing a solar system on a house?
If they get the exemption, there's no,
Oh, if they get the exemption,
right, there's a.
and that's the form you gotta fill out right there?
Yep,
Has the town ever passed a resolution to accept that?
as far as I know of, these are New York State, they're accepted all the time unless the town opts out of it.
Unless the town opts out of taking it.
Right, other than that, they have to do the
And the
solar.
town does not opt out of that.
I don't know if they have or not, because this is the first time we've ever had questions on solar.
Is this residential?
I'm sorry.
Residential or commercial?
Clarkson College filled out that form
Well, actually, it could be.
to be exempt
solar
from
could be
paying on their
residential.
solar farm in Potsdam.
So this is for either or, that form?
As far as I know, yes.
Clarkson is a nonprofit, so.
Exactly.
It may be affiliated with the NYSERDA programs.
Still, they filled out that exemption to be exempt.
Yeah.
There's different levels too.
Yeah, but they filled out the same one, if Potsdam opted out of that, out of everybody on the solar, Clarkson would have to pay on that.
Well, the
Right.
town of Hopkinton opted out of 487, so they do have the right to tax.
So I'm just pointing that out, I mean, if you're giving exemption in one place, you shouldn't be worried about a private. The other night, I went to the county planning board meeting, and that was one of the questions that they raised about that. Was on that. And they also said, they were very leery of the setbacks, were they thought way excessive. We're looking at another set of eyes looked at that.
Can we have their suggestions?
Okay, but I mean, I just thought when you got clear set of eyes is not familiar with it. They thought the rules coming out of Hopkinton were set, but they also said it was a very good plan, and there's a lot of good in it. I'm not saying scrap at all. But if you want the project, and the other point was, the guy made a point of, he could not see the difference, a clerical difference between south of 72 and north of 72, other than the state road.
That was you that said that.
What?
That was you that.
No, it was not me.
Wait,
Don Chambers brought that to attention. What was the difference between north and south of 72? Thank you.
We'd have to check with Ken, find out if we have it or not, but as far as I know, it's never been brought up before, so I'm sure we have not put out. So we'd have to grant the exemptions. The only thing you get the exemption on though was the solar panels themselves not coming up.
A couple of things. Quite a few years ago, when I was in the Finger Lakes at a wind meeting, and some speakers there from Milwaukee, New York, we here are focused on the sound for humans. There were some people there that had very touching testimonies of what happened with their animals, with their alpacas that were having stillbirths. Alpacas naturally give birth at a certain time of day so that they're in the wild, be up and ready to move before break and come get their young. And their births were all over the place. They were having tons of stillbirths. And the only thing that had changed was the wind farm came in operation right next door to them. So a lot of people can say that, oh, it's opinions, you don't look at them. Humans don't look at them, therefore you have a very negative opinion. Animals don't have that capability of thinking that way. So even though we haven't brought you a lot of information on effects of animals, it is out there. And they don't have the opinion whether they like the look of them or not, and they're still being affected. In regards to the county meeting, I did go to that county meeting. There were several items on the chart they went over. They went over the Hopkinton law much more extensively. They talked about it much more extensively than Perishville just because they happened to do Hopkinton's first. The laws mirrored each other so much, as well as time was running out. They didn't really spend a lot of time discussing Perishville's. But in Hopkinton's, they did. As regards to the setbacks, they weren't necessarily saying that they felt that the setbacks were excessive. It was, whenever they said that, it was always in context of fearing the unknown of the siting board because they themselves didn't know how the siting board would react. I again brought up to them that the siting board is not looking at our laws line by line. It would only be looked at as if the developer made a court case against one part, and then you as a town would have the opportunity to provide testimony of why you have that. And you guys have received tons of information. The advisory board, who did tons and tons of hours of research, as well as meetings, have tons of research to back up their reasonings, especially when you have been provided with 57 different locations that have a mile or more setback. So, and the fact that they were going with the 3,900 foot setback and then reduced it to 2,500. So they've already erred on the side of caution of here, as well as the county plan where I talked to the county, the chair after the meeting and said the amount of what that step back would be to the roads was not looked at. So the thought of purposely making those setbacks to zone them out does not really apply to the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board. They're looking at the information for safety. In fact, they never even used or made any maps to show that. The only maps they did use was provided by the developer. So they weren't looking at how do we zone these out. They were looking at the safety. And they put in tons and tons of hours, so I really hope that you go by what they did, because they put in a lot of hours. And also in regards to Route 72, there was one public comment on what is the difference. After after the gentleman went through the entire chart of the Hopkinton law of what possible changes, one gentleman at the table, one of the board members asked, is there a rationale? He wasn't providing judgment whether it should be past 72 or not. He was just trying to play devil's advocate of, if someone was looking at the overlay map without knowing the history, would there be a rationale within the law to justify that? And two of the Wind Advisory Boards made very eloquent statements to justify those reasons. And so I feel like you guys do already have those rationales, and therefore should stick by what your Wind Advisory Committee that you appointed, what they advised you. Thank you.
I'm gonna allow one more, then we're gonna move on. Frank?
Last Wednesday, the science was brought into this. We had two experts, audio and health and safety. They were derided as being paid. Therefore, their information was to be discounted. Their information agrees with the World Health Organization. It agrees with the American Standard National Institute. It's got history behind it. You want to start looking at health issues, look no further than Jefferson County, Lewis County. You've got 1,000 megawatts operating in the North Country. It's nice to be able to, as a skeptic, you can pick and choose whatever you want to attack with. Look at the history. You've got a history in the North Country of working wind turbine farms. You've got a history that you can look back on. You've got factual figures for tax values, pilots. Go to these town supervisors. They came up here of their own accord. Basically, they were told they were liars. They would be the ones that I would go to get information accurately as to what the ramifications of a wind farm does to a community. Tax-wise, health-wise. That's all. Just go by the science. There's over 50,000 of these turbines working in the country right now. People aren't dropping like flies. Do you expect to advance any kind of progress to the lowest common denominator? There's no progress at all. Thank you.
Okay, Kelly. You're in. I already said this in Fairfield, but I would like to say this here too. Having grid displays an arrogant contempt for the wishes of the majority of the people. It's time for the town boards, you have the wind advisory boards who have worked really hard and they've done a great job. It's time to really stand behind them. What I mean by the contempt is that they have just disregarded what Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board has said. They don't want to extend the overlay zone, but they've gone ahead, they've done all the surveying. They wrote up an article in the paper pretty much saying, heck with you. We're going to do what we want to do. As town board members, you need to really just, stand up for us, and that would be much appreciated. As far as the taxes go, you cannot use Maple Ridge as your example. You cannot. They do not have the same payment plan that you will have. You can use Chateauguay, which is more similar, and their taxes have gone down between 6 and 10%. It's not that much money. If you're going to save $100 a year, it's not very much money. I don't think any of us are willing to sacrifice the beautiful views here. I mean, that is my primary concern here. If our houses, maybe Mr. Fuchs could answer this. If say my house, if I could sell it for $200,000 right now, the windmills come and I can't sell it. I end up selling it for $60,000, and I believe that's gonna bring the tax base down. If people are selling their houses for lower and lower, then your taxes are going to be lower and lower. And then you're not gonna have the money that you would have even right now. And I don't hear too many people complaining about what we have. I think people are happy to live in Hopkinton and Parrisville, just the way it is right now. We're not all saying, oh, we wish we had this and we wish we had that. We live here because we like it simple. The friendly neighbor conflict, one thing I'd like to say is as far as friendly neighbor agreements go, if anybody on the board is, looking, if they approach you with a friendly agreement contract, then that would recuse you. You should recuse yourself, even though you don't have to tell people that, some people are in the project area that would be offered friendly agreements. I think that covers about everything. Thank you.
Okay. Just one thing is, they did say at the county meeting, because people who are against it say they're well in the majority. They said, no, it's about 50-50 with a whole lot of undecideds. And that's what the man stood up here and said.
Thank you. Okay,